host, Michaela Goose. I'm joining you live until 10 o'clock tonight. We have a very special guest with us this evening, but first, let's take a sneak peek at an ESPN special debuting this weekend on Saturday, 9 a.m. our time, about Patrick Mahomes, a very familiar face to those of us from right here in East Texas.
People see the arm angles, but they don't see how I can see the whole entire field and pass to the guy where they can get the ball and get upfield and everything like that. I think that's point guard growing up.
He just reminded me of probably like a Stephen Curry, throwing up crazy shots out here and making them. And people are like going, what in the world? How does he do this?
Alrighty, that was our sneak peek. Now let's bring in the producer and reporter of this, frankly, amazing work, Miss Tori Roy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. That intro. Thank you, Michaela. Thanks for having me.
Of course, as always, we like to treat our guests very well here on the show. Now, you are here to talk about a pretty amazing story, the story of Patrick Mahomes right here, Whitehouse ISD. Go into, first off, where did the idea for this story come from?
Absolutely. Well, I think the hardest part is finding new stories about Patrick Mahomes because, frankly, he's not going where, and neither are the Chiefs. Even in a season that is technically a down season, the Chiefs still not going anywhere. So my job is to find a unique can help us, the viewers, for their biggest matchups. And luckily for this weekend, it worked out that they're in the wild card weekend. Big matchup against the Dolphins. But anyway, in finding things about Patrick that are unique, I just came across something that said, I don't even remember where it was on social media, that was just like basketball was his first love. And I was like, that's interesting. Because you don't think of basketball when you think of Patrick Mahomes, right? Obviously, it's football. Second, it's baseball. And basketball, to me, came nowhere. So after that, it was just following some breadcrumbs and learning a little more about what that meant. And there you go, piece.
Now, let's go into what is the process of producing a show like this. It's something that has clearly been in the works for quite a while. How do you determine what stories to tell when it is so late in the season and you're not even quite sure who's going to make it into the playoffs?
Really hard, and sometimes we don't have the luxury of time, right? So some pieces are done in 3-4 days time, like you're pitching an idea on Monday and then you're going out and hopefully doing the interview on Wednesday or Thursday and having it ready for air on Sunday. In this case, this weekend, you have to have it ready for Saturday. So we're really lucky that, again, the Chiefs still really they were looking like they were going to be good. So I would to get the story ahead of time, find the coaches, come out to Texas and get it done.
Now, we, of course, here in East Texas love seeing the success Patrick Mahomes has had and continues to have. And it's also nice hearing from the people who are around him when he was dominating all of the fields, the football field, basketball court, as well as the baseball field. What are the biggest differences in interviewing someone like Pat and his high school coaches and teammates?
I think it's just that you have to be aware that they have been asked a lot of these questions before. So how can you make a unique presentation to them so that the interview is still interesting, right? Because some people have come to White House looking for all the football stuff, looking for the trophy cases, asking about great stories. But when I came in asking about great basketball stories, it was like it reinvigorated the excitement for him, right? Like knowing all the same stories that are out there, all the same pictures. Now you have an audience that's seeing things in a different light, and you're asking the coaches something that they haven't probably been able to talk about as much as maybe they'd like.
Which I'm sure was an amazing opportunity for them. Is there anything that you were surprised to learn while speaking with the teammates and coaches?
Honestly, I think I was surprised in the sense that Pat has not changed based on the people I spoke to. The stories you see on the field now is just who he was, even as a point guard for Whitehouse basketball. So I think it's refreshing, and it was surprising that he's just stayed the same, and he's just the same person. And that's what I think makes him still so lovable to that community.
Now, something that we were all surprised to see is the idea that you had to include Steph Curry in this special. Can you tell me where that idea came from?
I can't take full credit for that. I have to give credit to coaches Ryan Tomlin and Brett Kelly to that idea, because they were the ones that compared Pat to Steph. So to me, it was like, okay, why not just try? Why not just go to Steph and have him watch some film, maybe surprise him, catch him off guard a little bit to see. Let's just ask the person who would know best. Is someone that you would compare your game to, and hopefully you guys can watch the piece and see what he says.
Now, one line that Steph says is, quote, "You've always got an option." And it seems like that line does really describe both players' style of play. Do you think that's something and a trait that most athletes have at their level?
I mean, you hope so, right? The good ones. The good ones just always seem to have a backup plan. I think you can apply that to any sport. But I also think an athlete like Pat Mahomes, like Steph Curry, they knew it from the gate, right? From early on, no matter what sport was, they knew how to find those players, how to look down the field, down the entire court, like they both said in the piece. So you would hope so, but I think the best ones, they knew early on how to.
Now, one more question, well, two more questions, but first, what was your favorite part about filming this piece, getting to report on this, getting to interview these people, and especially seeing where Patrick Mahomes came from, as well as getting to talk to some other amazing top athletes?
Oh man, I mean, I could go on and on about this, so you have to cut me off, but it really is just meeting people, just makes you get to Patrick a little bit more, because when you get to sit with Patrick Mahomes at the Chiefs facility, they're really stretched for time. You get 8-10 minutes. So get out of there and you have to squeeze questions about football and what that's going to be like. Oh, and by the way, you played high school basketball. Tell me about that. So you get to know him in that sense, and he just lit up like a Christmas tree when he was talking about basketball. So that was really cool. But to then talk to his coaches, as I mentioned, and his former teammate, who's also one of his best friends, Jay Parker, it just felt like I had known him for years and felt like I had them for years as well. The community there was so amazing, welcoming, and flexible to everything we needed. It just makes an experience like that. It doesn't feel like work. It really doesn't.
And I mean, I think, speaking as a fellow reporter to reporter, half the time when we get these fun stories, it finally doesn't feel like work. And those are always, I think, in my personal opinion, when we show our best. So I have no doubt in my mind that this is probably some of your best work. And speaking of which, let our viewers know, when and where can they watch this special coming up?
So it's going to be on postseason NFL Countdown Saturday on ESPN. Our show kicks off at 10 a.m. and it goes till noon.
Alrighty, and that is 9 a.m. our time, 10 a.m. East Coast time. Once again, let's put that name up there. Tori Rohr, ESPN reporter and producer. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us some of your time tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.